Are you hearing all about manifesting and just seems like it's just not working for you and you keep waiting for your life to change and it just isn't? Well, today I'm going to talk about not only how do you connect to that higher power to begin to elicit significant change in your life, but also how to start your day off on the right foot. Let's go get that nugget. Welcome, ladies, to the Life Mastery for Women podcast. I'm Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind, your host. This is where we go to learn to master our life one nugget at a time. Hey, ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope I'm finding you manifesting positive change. If you're not manifesting positive change, then it is my intention that in today's episode, I give you just one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. Now, manifesting, the word manifesting has been spiraling around our world for a very, very long time. And I remember, probably 20 some years ago, I remember asking people, well, first, let me go back even further. I remember having a business meeting with this one gal about investing. And she was talking about investing in a company that I was starting. And she's like, I said, okay, so how much money do you want to invest in this company? And she's just like, well, I want to invest $4,000. I'm like, okay. And I said, so, here's the paperwork, here's the contract, here's the stuff. And she goes, oh, well, I don't have the money right now. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I said, okay, so, tell me more about that. And she goes, well, I'm trying to manifest it by the end of the week and then I'll have it for you. And I said, you're trying to what now? And she's like, I'm trying to manifest. And I said, I've never heard that word. What does that mean? And she gave me this very, very long description about what manifesting is. And I'm like, I still left and I'm just like, oh my God, she's crazy. And now look at me now. So she gave me a very weird description and I did not follow any of it, but I was not in the place that I am now. Now, I don't know where you are in your life and what you're hearing and what you're trying to understand about manifesting and using higher power energy to be able to elicit that positive change. But everything in our life, our body, our physicality, our spirit is meant to keep going. And it's in the not going that we start to feel the not going. Our bodies start to slow down, become heavier, become more in dis-ease, where we're not in the flow of life. So, but our subconscious mind, the bigger, greater part of our brain, which is the elephant, if you've heard me talk about it in another podcast, it's the elephant. The Ant and the Elephant. It's a great book. Go get it. It's very small. It's a great read. And it gives a fantastic storyline about using your conscious mind to influence your subconscious mind, to get your subconscious mind to move. The ant is the conscious mind, which is your thinking mind right now that you're listening to this podcast. The subconscious mind is the elephant, and the ant is on the back of the elephant. And our job is to get going in our life, which means we're always growing, we're always changing, we're always adapting. And in that always changing, sometimes we don't want to go because the elephant wants to just graze in the field. But our spirit is designed to experience. Our spirit is designed to move and change and experience life to the fullest. And when you're not going, you start to feel it. Take a river, a very high flowing river, and you're standing in the middle of it. And you're just standing there. How long do you think you can stand there over days and weeks and years before you start feeling fatigued, standing against the current of the river versus getting in a kayak and going with the flow? So that's what we're talking about today. Manifesting positive change is a lot easier than we think, but our beliefs and our blocks get in the way. We put these challenges in front of us based on stories we're telling ourselves that are like, well, manifesting doesn't work, or it's not going to work for me, or that's just not possible, or I wouldn't be able to do that very well. Whatever those stories are, that's where we are getting stuck. We are taking those stories, throwing them out in front of us, and then wondering why we don't go anywhere. Every single story we tell that prevents us and limits us is a brick in our way. How many bricks do you have in your way? Right? I have a lot. and I'm still working through them. And I have a ton of tools, and I teach a ton of tools, and I work through them. And I have a giant 3-ring binder that's like one of the big, I don't know, it's like 3-inch or 4-inch ring binder that is full of loose leaf paper of limiting beliefs, of stories that I tell myself. And now, how do we break free from that? Well, when we understand that we're moving, we are supposed to go. Our spirit is designed to experience and explore and go and grow and change constantly. It's why it's always pushing us. And if we don't go, that's the pressure that we're building. And the world needs to expand. The planet that we're living on needs to expand. It needs to light up and begin to say, I'm responsible for my life. And it's only these stories and this energy and these blocks that are preventing me from experiencing my life to the fullest. We hear other people out there go, okay, well, if this was the last 7 days of your life, what would you spend it doing? Working the job that you're working? Would you stay in the place that you're in? Would you do the same things over and over again? And if the answer is like, well, God, no, I would do all these other things, then I would say start doing those other things. That is in the exploration. That is getting in the flow. So today, I want to give you the steps on how to connect. And it is a lot simpler. And if you don't believe that you can, then that's going to be a big belief that is a block for you. That is a big, giant brick. If you believe that only certain kinds of people can connect, or you're not psychic, or you're not a healer, or you don't have intuition, or you can't visualize, I hear all of these, I want to say excuses. And it's excuses to be able to stay in your life, to stay stuck in what you're stuck in. And if we can recognize that we have the power within us to change our life and to elicit positive change, then you're well on your way. You just have to believe 2 things. 1, is it possible? And 2, is it possible for you? And I say, hell yes. Because back then in that bookstore where I had that meeting with that gal, and she was explaining manifesting, and I left there going, oh my God, are you guys joking me? Like, what is she talking about? And I totally wrote her off. And I will tell you this, she obviously wasn't very good at it, because I never saw her again. I never reached out to her again, and I didn't get $4,000 from her. But there are ways to start this out. First, the connecting to higher vibration. A lot of that is getting out of and shutting our mind down to the environment around us. Is why when we meditate is we close our eyes and we go inward deep enough that our senses turn off and we are in no space, no time, with no awareness of who we are and where we are. So it's kind of that sleepy state. So just think about when you sleep at night and you fall asleep, you like pretty soon, have you ever slept in a hotel? Yeah, of course you have, right? And sometimes in a second you wake up and you've kind of forgot where you were. Well, that's where you want to sort of get to, is that kind of sleepy state like that allows you to kind of forget who you are, where you are, what you're doing. If you have dreams, like I dream really, really in detail, and I'm doing all kinds of crazy things in my dreams. Never once in my dream do I say, I really shouldn't be flying, or I really shouldn't be jumping really, really high, or running this fast. Like there's never a limiting belief in my dreams. I'm just going. I'm just doing, right? I am soaring above the clouds or jumping really, really high. And I never question it. That's where we have to kind of let our mind loose. And we have to start sitting back and going, the stuff that I'm doing in my life isn't working. It's not working. It's not working anymore. I can keep trying to manipulate the world around me, but if I let enough time go by, I look back at my life and I go, this is not working. It's not changing. I'm still doing the same thing over and over again. I'm still believing the same story. I'm still taking the same action. I'm still saying the same words. And everything has energy. Everything. Your words have energy. And in the use of the words that you're saying to yourself, you are either staying stuck or you are eliciting positive change. So let's start with the words. When I start my day, I start with a very simple exercise that is a check-in, an intention, and then I do a grounding. I have a lot of energy. I'm a big idea person. I'm an INFJ, for those of you that are in the Myers-Briggs. I'm a big creator. I have tons of ideas. So my energy is typically high in my chakras, in the upper parts. My third eye is wide open. My crown is wide open. My throat, obviously I do a podcast. I talk endlessly. My throat is open. And my heart begins to feel good when I am learning, teaching, sharing, talking, right? Coaching. All of those things make me feel good inside. And so I have found my thing. I found the thing that lights me up. But my energy typically is really high in my chakras. So I tend to feel a little bit nervous, anxious, insecure. And so grounding in the morning helps me to bring my energy down, get it down into my lower chakras so I can feel connected to the earth. And Mother Earth is like my best friend. And when we begin to manifest, because I can think of ideas all day long, but now you got to push it down into your chakras to get it to manifest into the physical world. Because remember, the lower chakras, root, sacral, and solar, are anchored in the physical world. And the throat, third eye, and crown are in the spiritual world. And the heart is the bridge between the two. So those things, those ideas, those dreams, those desires that you have are up in the higher chakras. And now we push them down. We bridge the gap through our heart, through our passion, which is where we manifest from. And then we push them down through the lower chakras to bring it into the physical world. We're going to start that with certain words. I can't say something like, I'm not good at this. It's never going to happen for me. I don't know where my stuff is, and then expect it to show up. That's not how it works. Think of the energy that you're putting out. So you have a pot with soil in it. You've taken great care for the pot and the soil that's in there, the fertilizer, and you're trying to grow this plant. And you've planted the seeds. So there's the seed. That's the dream. That's the vision. Okay, you've planted the seeds. Now you get the water, but the water has a bunch of chemicals in it. And you water this plant. Those are your negative words. The words that prevent you. Those are the bricks, right? Those are the bricks that you're putting in front of you that you just can't get through. The limiting beliefs are in this jug, and you're watering this plant with those limiting beliefs. Are those seeds ever going to sprout? No. The answer is no. They're never going to sprout. Never. Never. Not once. Not ever. Not 10 years from now. Never. So what do? We have to clean out the jug. It has nothing to do with the seeds. It has nothing to do with the dream. It has nothing to do with your ability to make it happen. It has nothing to do with your skills, but it does have to do with how you're starting. What are you watering that plant with? And if that water is filled with negative beliefs and negative stories, your seeds are never going to sprout. So we have to clean up the water. Now, let's take that jug, get rid of the plant for a second, put it over there. I want you to place or think of this jug in front of you that's full of water, okay? And I want the water, because of the beliefs that are in there, I want the water to be pretty muddy. You know, if you're above 35, which is where your life is kind of set, you've gone through the childhood traumas that we've all gone through to some level and some degree. You have your beliefs. You've gone through enough of the world to sort of think you know how the world works. And you're also starting to realize that things aren't working the way you want them to. If you're listening to this podcast, things are not working the way you want them to. There's things in your life that you want to manifest. And you have a pretty muddy jug unless you are doing some pretty good personal development work. Okay. And so you get to this place and you have this jug in front of you and it is full of muddy water. Every single time you meditate, every single time you decide not to say a certain thing, like I'm not going to say I can't, or it's not going to work, or I don't know why I bother. If any of those things, those blocks, those sentences, those phrases that are a chemical, that are not going to make your desire manifest, those things have to get moved on and released. So every time, and picture this jug, let's turn it into a bucket. It's a bucket now. So we turn it into a bucket. Every time I am going to release one of those phrases that I say, I'm dumping a cup of water into this bucket. Now, we're going to do that a few times. What's going to happen to the water? Eventually, it's going to start to overflow. But every time I put in clean water, go even further down the line. If I do that every time I release a limiting belief, something that blocks me, a story that doesn't allow me to move through to my desire, I'm going to dump clean water into that. I'm going to use new words. I'm going to use new phrases. I'm going to think differently. I'm going to act differently. I'm going to get a place of curiosity that is different energy. Say things like, I am allowing this desire to come to me. I am willing to do the work. I am curious about how it's going to show up. If I'm using different phrases, every time I do that and it lights me up inside, I get to dump a clean, fresh, natural, wonderful cup of water into this bucket. Now, if I do that for a few months, what's my bucket going to look like now? Like, think about that. And if I were to even encourage you to be an overachiever and to go above and beyond, I would say, go get a bucket. And it doesn't have to be big because it'll give you a perfect idea of how this is going to work. I want you to go get a bucket, a glass, go get a glass. And I want you to go get some dark food coloring. I want you to fill the glass with food coloring, or I want you to fill the glass with water and put several drops of food coloring in the water, or I don't know, a spoonful of mud or dirt, potting soil, something to make the cup muddy, dirty, a different color. Then I want you to turn on the clean water and I want you to just let it overflow into the cup and watch what happens. Because if I am going to release the negative energy and I'm going to pour in positive words, encouraging words, forward momentum type words, like I am allowing this thing into my life. That's forward momentum versus how come my stuff's not here? How come I'm not good enough? How come I'm not smart enough? Why isn't this working? Manifesting doesn't work for me, right? Those words do not move you forward. They are encouraging. And as that water is flowing into the cup, you're going to see a transformation of the cup, of the bucket, of the muddy jug. You're going to see a transformation happen right before your eyes. That now, after several minutes of letting this clean, fresh water, these new positive beliefs, these encouraging beliefs running into the jug, you're going to see a transformation right before your eyes. If you start the day off with a check-in, with an intention, with elevated emotion, moving yourself forward instead of looking back at why you're stuck, you're going to see a whole new transformation inside. You're going to feel better. That's how it's going to start. You're going to feel better. The jug, you're looking at this water in this glass and you're like, wow, that just looks better. The glass feels better, right? It's not muddy and gross. It feels better. It's clean and clear on the inside. So your energy is going to be clean and clear on the inside. You're going to feel like that glass, all shiny and new. Now you're at a place to manifest. Now you're at a higher vibrational state that you can say, okay, now I'm ready to get this thing. And now that water goes over and pours into the plant. And within a few days, you start seeing evidence of your desire coming to fruition. We must start the day with something better in our life than, why am I doing this? Why isn't this working? How come? I can't do it. I'm not good enough. Those words don't work. Sometimes they'll give you attention. Sometimes that playing the victimhood sometimes is comforting. That person, whoever the person is, gives you attention. Sometimes they even try to do the work for you. But here's the thing. You're still standing in the river, not going with the flow. Eventually, your body is going to start feeling it physically if it isn't already. You're going to feel where you're stuck. Your back, your knees, your hips, your neck, your elbow, your headaches, your heart disease, your diabetes, your high blood pressure. Your body is telling you. The vessel in which your spirit lives is communicating with you to tell you you're not going with the flow. Here's where you're stuck. And you attribute that to any one of the chakras and you go in and you start clearing out those beliefs. You start cultivating what it is you want instead of what it is that you don't want. That's the work. Begin today, because in 6 weeks from now, are you going to wish you did? Wow, that may have felt like a lot of information in today's episode, but if you're looking for support and a deeper knowledge of what we talked about today, then let's connect. You can learn more about how I work and how you can work with me. Send me an email to the meditationroomtc@gmail.com, subject line, let's talk. And in the meantime, you can join my online Facebook community, Lady Rising, and mention that you came in through the podcast. I look forward to supporting you and connecting with you there.